Okay, so I'm in like 5th grade, right? My teacher, Mr. R, does this thing where he reads like one chapter of a book to the class every day. Now, one time he did Hatchet, and that was cool because the book has a couple bad words in it, okay? I felt like a fugitive. Anyway, so it's 1998, I'm 10 years old, and Mr. R pulls out a new book that he's gonna read called Holes. And believe you me, this book blew my 10-year-old mind, okay? The plot twist, the historical fiction, the reveal at the end, I'm telling you, humanity peaked with this book. Literally nothing but downhill ever since. And then just a couple years later, 2003, I'm in like 8th grade or something, right? And Disney makes a movie about holes? This movie comes to us from Walden Media. Now, Walden Media is the production company that gave us like Holes, Bridge to Terabithia, all the Narnia movies, the Dora the Explorer movie, about 8,000 movies where the dog dies at the end. I'm telling you, these dudes are swinging for the fences. And Holes was their first major motion picture. So, in my never-ending journey through the 2000s to desperately reclaim any serotonin I have left, let's take a walk and check out Holes. First thing, we have our main character, Stanley Yelnats. Now, one thing Stanley tells us right away is that he only ever seems to have bad luck.
All my life, I seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. My grandpa, Stanley Yelnats II, says it's all because of this 150-year-old curse. Now, I don't really believe in the family curse, but when things go wrong...
I sure am glad to have something else to blame now, because, like, if I had to take responsibility for my own life, I mean, whew, boy, that would suck. You followed a guy all the way to his house and set his garage on fire because you were mad he was driving in front of you going the speed limit. See, just like I said, the universe is conspiring against me, I tell you what. Now, Stanley, as per usual, is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and long story short, the cops think he stole these shoes because he's holding them. So, case closed, Your Honor. The cops get a warrant to search his house, and here we get to meet Stanley's weird little family.
You see, my father, Stanley Yelnats III, is an inventor. And for the last few years, he's been trying to find a cure for foot odor.
You could change your socks?
Do we even have any cake?
How about some coffee? A little cup of coffee? Now that is a fine pair of shoes. Could I just smell your shoe? How about if you take your shoe off and I just...
Okay, yeah, I don't know how to tell you this, Stanley, but I think your dad might be getting up to some other kind of shenanigans. Anyway, so turns out these shoes belong to Sweet Feet, the famous baseball player. And what do you know? Stanley also just so happens to be a big fan of Mr. Sweetum's Feeticus. So he goes to court and is sentenced, like, immediately.
I could send you to jail, and I would not lose one bit of sleep over it.
That's a weird thing to brag about, my dude.
There is currently a vacancy at Camp Green Lake. They help troubled youth build character.
Well, I never been to camp before.
But of course, as we all know, there is no lake at Camp Green Lake. Stanley gets to the camp and things are not quite what he imagined. It's pretty much just this barren wasteland of nothing. And first guy he meets is this fine gentleman, Mr. Sir.
Stanley Yelnats IV.
Everyone in my family names their son Stanley because it's Yelnats backwards. It's like this little tradition.
My name is Mr. Sir. Whenever you speak to me, you will call me by my name. Is that clear?
You know, something this movie really reminded me of is just how natural at acting Shia LaBeouf was. Like, he just always had this very comfortable way of portraying his characters that I feel like we don't really see anyone else doing anymore. But whatever, anyway.
You get 2 sets of clothes. One for work, one for relaxation. After 3 days, your work clothes will be washed. Your second set becomes your work clothes. Is that clear? This isn't the Girl Scout camp.
Yeah, son, you know what they do at a Girl Scout camp? That they enjoy a brief respite from having guys like me walk up and massage their shoulders for no reason and say things like, "Oh, you sure are looking mighty pretty today."
I'm warning you!
You heard the man, Spence.
Oh, don't worry. This here's for yellow-spotted lizards. I wouldn't waste a bullet on you.
You know, Mr. Sir reminds me of, like, every lunch lady I ever had in elementary school. Like, every single one of them had this insatiable contempt for children. And, like, we were just 10-year-olds eating lunch. Like, why was this so serious? This 10-year-old kid tried to get 2 chocolate milks instead of 1. Not on my watch. Now, we also get to meet another member of the faculty, Dr. Pendansky, who seems to be a little more on the nice side. And this guy takes Stanley around to introduce him to all the other boys and show him the camp itself.
Stanley, meet Rex, Alan, and Theodore.
Hi.
Yo, my name is X-Ray. And that's Squid. That's Armpit.
They all have their little nicknames, but I prefer to use the names their parents gave them.
You know, it's a good thing this movie came out in 2003 and not 2024, because it'd be like, yeah, they call themselves Armpit, X-Ray, and Barfbag or whatever, but I prefer to use the names their parents gave them. Xehanort, Metal Greymon, and Pickle Rick.
And this is Zero. Say hello to Stanley, Zero. You want to know why they call him Zero? Because there's nothing going on in his stupid little head.
Hey, wait a second. I thought you said you only used their real government names. But you know, throughout this whole movie, like, I don't know why exactly, but this dude has it out so hard for Zero. Like, so bad.
Even Zero here isn't completely worthless. What about you, Zero? What do you like to do? You just won't talk with me, will you?
I like digging holes.
Then you're in the right place for it, buddy boy.
What the heck is your deal, my dude? Anyway, so Stanley's actual punishment at this camp is that every day he has to dig a 5x5 hole in this old dried up lake. Hence the name of the movie. Very clever. And of course, Stanley being the new guy, he gets hazed and harassed and welcomed into the Brotherhood by forceful physical and mental abuse. Just quirky guy things.
Hey, yo, say you didn't dig today. So, you wouldn't mind giving up your bread to somebody who did, now would you?
I know he smells that.
Joe, my name is not Theodore. It's armpit.
Yeah, you know, when I was growing up, some kids always wondered why I like to hang out with girls more than guys, but really it was because hanging out with guys is a lot like this. Hey, look, that kid's hair's like a little bit weird, kinda. Let's kill him! Now, all this hazing kinda ends, though, when one day during break time, Stanley, like, finally wins the approval of the Volturi or whatever.
Smells like puke from a mule been ruminating on asparagus for 2 weeks.
That is a heck of a sentence you just said there, my dude.
Watch it!
Damn man.
Hold on. Hey, just chill, okay, man. I look.
Yeah, so because Stanley, like, aggressively hugged this guy just real good, the other guys are like, wow, no one messes with the caveman now. Caveman is Stanley's new nickname, by the way, for some reason, which, to be fair, that's a lot better than whatever other nickname they could have given to a tall Jewish kid with a fro.
Nobody messing with the caveman. Nobody.
Hey, did you see the caveman back there?
No. I don't want to mess with anybody.
Hey, you coming, caveman?
Caveman.
So throughout the movie, Stanley's digging holes and whatnot, and one day he finds this weird golden tube thing with a carving on it. Now, the rule is, while digging holes, if you find anything interesting like this, then you might get the day off. However, because of like the seniority pecking order or whatever, Stanley has to give it to this guy, X-Ray. But turns out this is like a really big deal when the actual camp warden herself shows up.
Right over there.
You know, quick aside here, but Sigourney Weaver can get it at literally any point in her life, okay? Like, pick any point in the last 50 years, I'm right there, first in line. Now, because everyone thinks X-Ray found the whatever this is, the warden makes them all dig around wherever he was digging. But remember, Stanley was actually the one who found it in his hole, so after digging around X-Ray's spot for several days, they find a whole lot of nothing.
Listen up. After the behavior exhibited these past several days, the warden and I have decided that your character building would be best served by returning to the digging of individual holes.
Now, throughout all of this, Stanley's been slowly becoming friends with that Zero kid, and he finds out that before all this hole digging nonsense, Zero was a homeless kid living on the street and never even learned how to read.
I feel really awkward with you reading over my shoulder like that, so...
I can't read. Can you teach me?
And as they get closer and talk about each other's tragic backstories, we also get a little glimpse here and there about what kind of life Zero's been living up to now.
We weren't always homeless. My mom had problems. I used to have to wait like on a porch or a playground. Then one day she didn't come back.
Okay, this movie, man. I tell you. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, okay? But like, just like how he describes his life. He's like, my mom had so many problems. I had to wait at random parks for her, and one day she just never came back. Like this movie's like shockingly dark sometimes. As a kid, I remember being like, wow, he got to play in the parks all day? That sounds awesome. But then like watching this movie back now as an adult, I'm just like, this movie's getting a little too real. Now, in exchange for teaching Zero how to read, Zero is helping Stanley dig his hole so he can, like, be done faster and therefore have more time. But of course, the other kids are not liking this one bit, I tell you what.
Hey, how about I give you my cookie and you let me dig your hole?
Look, I get it, all right? I'll dig my own hole from now on. Just let me eat my lunch.
He isn't gonna take it. Come here, eat the cookie.
And like somehow this all turns into everyone just making fun of Zero and how he's some like dumb idiot who can only dig holes. Now eventually Zero finally reaches this breaking point with everyone treating him like trash for no reason.
You might as well teach this shovel to read. It's all you'll ever be good for. D-I-G. What's that spell?
Toasty!
Dig.
And so Zero runs away into the desert, never to be seen again. And the next day, Stanley also runs away from camp to go find Zero in the wasteland. Now, after a while, Stanley does find Zero under this old boat thing where he's been drinking like 100-something-year-old peach juice.
Here.
What is this?
Sploosh. That's what I call it. Drink it, it's good.
Yeah, I don't know, my dude. Like, I'm pretty sure you take a couple sips of that and you're gonna start smelling colors or something. And they trek their way up this mountain that's a little ways away because, like, of course they can't go back to camp, right? I mean, if they do, they're good as dead anyway. Like, literally.
He was a ward of the state. He was living on the streets when he was arrested.
Is there some prissy caseworker who might ask questions?
He had nobody. He was nobody. No one cares about Hector Zeroni.
I want you to destroy his records. He was never here.
But then Stanley has to carry Zero up the mountain because he's had a few too many peaches there, you know what I'm saying? And just as they're about to crumble into dust from lack of water, they just so happen to stumble onto a wet marsh place thing full of giant onions, if you can believe that.
What are you doing?
You try this. Try this.
What is it?
It's a hot fudge sundae. Just eat it.
Wow, look at that magic onion that regrows after you bite into it. Incredible. So after just kind of hanging out there for a while, I guess, eventually they get to talking and Stanley gets the idea that if the warden was so obsessed with digging where she thought they found that tube thing earlier in the movie, then like she must be looking for something incredible, right? So they decide to sneak down there and go dig the hole where Stanley found it in the first place, and you'll never guess what they find.
We found it!
This is it!
I say what I say!
Oh, man.
Thank you, boys. You've been a big help.
And so eventually Stanley and Zero get out of the hole with the chest thing and the warden tries to take it away, but guess what?
It's Stanley's. What are you doing? Let go. It's
Red-handed. I could send Stanley right back to prison if I press charges. However, in view of all the circumstances, I think I'll just take it.
It has his name on it.
What?
You see? Stanley Yell Nets.
Okay, so here's where the twist comes in. And like I said, this absolutely destroyed my 10-year-old mind. My teacher got to this part in the book and I was like, what? So throughout the movie, while all this has been going on, the movie's been cutting back and forth between the story of Stanley, the story of Stanley's family, and the history of the lake itself. So Stanley's like bajillion times great-grandfather came over from Latvia, and his son got robbed by Kissing Kate, the outlaw. Now, Kissing Kate wasn't always like this. She used to be a school teacher way back in the 1800s in the town that was by the lake that used to be here, but now it looks like this, right? And Kate was in love with Sam, the local onion seller.
Get you sweet, sweet natural onions. Get your elixirs, health potions, onion tonics. Onions, get your onions here, folks. God's own chosen vegetable. Nature's magic vegetables right here, folks.
Uh-oh, he's one of those TikTok moms. Has your child been possessed by the eternal darkness of Lord Cthulhu? Just put some onions in their socks. It'll cure them right up. It's like when girls go to the doctor for literally any reason, and it's like, well, doctor, I broke my neck falling off the roof. That's nice. When was your last period? But anyway, so of course, this being the 1800s, people sure didn't like Kate and Sam being all and so they burn down the school and also execute Sam, just like right on the lake. Remind you all that this is a PG-rated kids movie. And when they did this, for some mysterious reason, it never rained again. Thus, the lake dried up, the town became abandoned, and the richest guy in town whose family owned the lake, now they have nothing. So after this, Kate vows to never love again, and she becomes an outlaw, and she robs a bunch of banks and a bunch of rich people, like Stanley Yelnats the First, for example. And she buries her treasure somewhere in this dried up lake, and the former rich guy and his family have been looking for it ever since.
Where's the loot? You robbed every bank from hell to Houston.
Linda Miller, is that you?
I've been Linda Walker for the last 13 years.
One.
Oh, Linda, you were such a good student.
3.
Go on, kill me. The lake goes on for miles. I've been wishing I was dead for a long time.
Ah yes, always nice to meet a fellow millennial. And so fast forward to the modern day, when Stanley and Zero dig up this chest, it has Stanley's name on it. And also in the end, we find out that Zero is the one who stole the shoes and threw them over the bridge, which hit Stanley in the head and started this whole thing in the first place. So Stanley is let free, Zero's records were destroyed when he ran away, remember that? So technically, legally, he does not actually have to be there. And there's also this little thing about how Stanley and Zero's families are also intertwined because of this like old Latvian curse this lady put on Stanley's ancestor, and turns out Zero is the longtime descendant of this lady, and so by Stanley and Zero being friends and helping each other out, the curse is lifted, and they never have any bad luck again, or something like that. So they both get to go home, and turns out the chest is full of gold and jewels and stuff.
Okay, one more thing. No matter what is in this box, we are still family.
We are the LS. Come on, we know.
One. Cross your fingers.
Two. Come on, three. Oh my God, honey, you still got it. You are so strong.
Oh, golly gee, thanks, honey. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. Man, for a kid's movie, like, this is so, like, kinda insane. The kids being sent to a torture camp, Zero's backstory, the way the adults talk to the kids, the history of the lake itself. This was a PG-rated kids movie. Adults used to have a lot more faith in kids being able to handle and process, like, mature themes, you know? Because I feel like kids stuff today is so sanitized and inoffensive that it just becomes, Like, remember back a couple years ago when everyone was obsessed with Bluey? And they were all like, it's like a kid's show, but actually it's surprisingly deep and mature. But like, a lot of kids stuff used to kind of be like that. I don't know if things used to be better or if it's actually better now or whatever. I have no idea, but things definitely used to be different. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please watch another one, because that's how the algorithm works. So click on this one that's being recommended to you right now, right here on the screen. It actually helps a lot if you do that, because like that's how YouTube knows that my videos are worth caring about. Also, if you have any movies or TV shows you'd like to recommend, send me an email at alexmeyerscontact@gmail.com, and I'll put them on my absurdly long list of movies that I need to get to at some point. Anyway, hope I made your day a little bit better, and I'll see you all next time.